The cold spot wasn't new. Since her mother's funeral, Clara had carried it inside her chest, a hollow, frozen weight where warm th used to be. But the cold spot in her bedroom was different. It appeared 3 nights after they moved into Grant's decaying Victorian house. A patch of air near the wardrobe, so frigid it made her breath plume. Grant, frail and perpetually wrapped in shawls, just murmured old houses, settle, child, and stoke the fire. Clara knew it was more. The cold spot pulsed, sometimes, faint as a moor's wing beat. She heard crying inside it, not her own silent tears but the raw, ragged sobs of echoed, terrified, lost, yet pulled at her own buried grief like a magnet. Grant refused to enter the back bedroom, Clara's room. Damn, she'd say, her eyes avoiding the door. Bad memories. The room itself felt watchful, faded. Floral wallpaper peeled like dead skin, revealing patches of darker plaster. Beneath, in the corner by the cold spot, the pattern was almost entirely gone, stained a deep ugly brown. The crying grew louder, not every night, but often enough, always starting around 2 a.m. Seeping through the wall near the wardrobe, it wasn't just sound. It carried despair so profound it made Clara's own sorrow feel trivial. She pressed her ear to the cold plaster, shivering, whispering her stare. Only sobs answered. Then came the scratching, not rats, deliberate, desperate scraping, like fingernails clawing at the inside of the wall. Right behind the brown stain, it started, softly but grew more frantic each night, synchronized with the weeping. Clara stopped sleeping. She huddled in bed, staring at the stain, the cold spot leaching the heat from her bones. The scratching felt like it was inside her own skull. Grant grew paler, more withdrawn. You shouldn't listen, Clara, she rasped one morning, her knuckles white on her teacup. Some sounds, they feed on attention. Who is it, Grant? Clara demanded, exhaustion stripping away politeness. Who's crying in the wall? Grant's gaze darted to the back bedroom door, then dropped. Nobody. Just echoes. Bad memories soak into old plaster, like damp, but her trembling hands betrayed her, driven by fear and a morbid, aching empathy for the unseen weeper. Clara investigated, prying up loose floorboards, revealed nothing but dust and mouse droppings. But behind the wardrobe, tucked beneath the skirting board, she found a small, cloth-wrapped bundle. Inside was a child's porcelain doll, its face cracked, one glass eye missing, its tiny dress stained dark brown, and a yellowed, water-stained fragment of a letter. The frantic script barely legible. Can't stop him crying. The walls were weeping to Grant says it's the house it gets hungry for sadness. Says she tried to make it stop. With the locket. But it wasn't enough. He's still out. The grave eater wants him. Says it's the only way to quiet the house. Grave eater. The words resonated with the hollow, cold in Clara's chest. She looked at the brown stain on the wall. Not damp, something else. That night, the weeping was unbearable. Orchild's voice choked without a terror wail. No, please, don't let it take me. The scratching became a frenzy at pounding. Shaking the wardrobe, the cold spot expanded, filling the room, sucking the air from Clara's lungs. Frost bloomed across the wallpaper, radiating from the brown stain. The stain itself seemed to darken, to deepen like a wind opening. Clara acted without thought, driven by the fragment of letter and a desperate need to silence the agony. She grabbed the cracked doll, its remaining eyes seemed to fix on her, filled with ancient fear. Remembering the word locket, she frantically searched the doll. Tucked beneath its stained dress, tied with a rotten ribbon, was a tiny, tarnished silver locket. Fumbling with frozen fingers, Clara pried it open. Inside was an entire picture. Nestled in faded velvet was a small, perfect white milk tooth. A final, ear-splitting shriek tore from the wall. Not just the child's voice this time, but a chorus, layers of anguish, decades deep, all focused into one horrific sound. The brown stain on the wall bulged outward, the plaster cracking like eggshell from the fissure. Not dust but a thick, dark viscous liquid used, smelling of stale terrace and wet earth, and within the years, shapes pressed against the sheer, tumbling plaster from the other side. Small skeletal fingers, the blurred, screaming impression of a child's face. The locket in Clara's hand turned icy, burning her palm, the doll's remaining eyes seemed to glow with captured panic. The letter, swords screamed in her mind. The grief eater wants him. The only way to quiet the house. Gran had tried to appease it with a locket, holding a token of the lost child. But it hadn't been enough. The house was still hungry. Hungry for the source of the grief. Not just a symbol. The pounding stopped. The weeping ceased. Abruptly, an unnatural silence fell. Big and expectant, tears stopped flowing. The fingers and face retreated into the dark fissure. The cold spot she had drank, pulling back towards the broken wall. But the deep, penetrating chill remained inside Clara. Colder than ever, the frozen weight in her chest now felt connected to the hole in the wall. The silence was empty. It was the silence of something waiting, listening, satisfied. For now, the immediate terror was gone. But the stain was larger. The fissure and open wound in the wall. The locket lay heavy in Clara's hand. The tiny drew the cold accusing weight. She looked from the locket to the broken wall. The house hadn't just fed on the trapped child's grief. It had consumed it, and Gran had been its keeper. Her bad memories weren't just guilt. They were the echoes of sacrifices made to appease the hunger in the walls. The cold spot in Clara's chest pulsed, synchronizing with a faint new sensation, a deep, resonant drum coming up through the floorboards, vibrating in her bones. It wasn't a frantic pounding. It was slower, steadier, content, the satisfied hum of something ancient that had just been fed, now resting, but not sleeping, never sleeping. Clara knew the silence would end. Last the grief eater was quieted, not seated. The house had tasted her own sorrow, felt the frozen void within her, and the fissure in the wall was still open. An invitation, Araminja, the dull single glass eye, reflecting the weak dawn light, seeping through the curtains, seemed to watch her. The locket, with its tiny terrible token, felt less like an artifact and more like a key to a door she couldn't close. The cold wasn't just in the room anymore. It was part of her, and the house, sensing a new wellspring of grief deep within its walls, waited patiently for its next meal. The quiet hum beneath the floor was the sound of its hunger. Dormant but eternal, Clara clutched the locket, the cold metal biting into her palm, knowing the weeping might stop. But the true horror had only just begun. She was the keeper now.